And we're live. Yeah. Hey, friend. Alex here from MetaMindMusic.com. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how to build your confidence and develop like a creative workflow in your home studio. Before we dive in, I invite you to download my free workflow wizardry PDF. It's in the description below, and you can also get it at www.metamindmusic.com/workflow. And it's a simple framework to take you from your first initial idea all the way to the end to a finished product, step by step, to help you stay focused, to help you have a framework to kind of know what to do next if you're stuck. So if you're feeling that way, go ahead and download that PDF. So let's get into creative confidence in the home studio. What does that even mean? Well, musicians typically and artists, we face this overwhelmingly paralyzing force called self-doubt. And it comes in many forms. It can come in the form of comparing yourself to other people, or procrastinating, or looking up endless tutorials with seeking information about certain subjects that you might not even be needing to know at the point that you're at. So it can show itself in many ways, but I found that one of the biggest truths that I have learned about overcoming these struggles is to develop a rock solid work ethic around your creative craft. And it sounds kind of counterintuitive because a lot of artists, they don't like to compare, they don't like to put creativity and like taskmaster together. But actually, what I have found to be true anyway is that when you develop a solid work ethic, you have more creative breakthroughs. Basically, the more time you put in, the more chance there is for you to have those elusive moments of genius come into your craft and into your work. So it's just about showing up consistently. That will kind of invite you to become inspired. And it won't be every time. It'll be maybe every second time or the third time you show up to the studio that you get super encouraged. But it's the key is that you show up consistently and on a reliable manner. Um, Another point on that is to also, if you're just getting started, or if you feel overwhelmed by too many ideas, like I always do, I like to overcomplicate things, is to keep it simple. Keep your ideas simple and with fewer options and fewer very, how do you say it, elaborate parts. It's a lot easier for you to actually exercise your creativity because you have less moving parts and you have more kind of angles to play with. Um, and that kind of segues into my second point, my second tip on how to build that creative confidence is to harness the growth mindset, which is basically taking your perceptions of whether it be challenges, obstacles, problems, frustrations, or even self evaluating your skill set and your skill level right now and framing it in a way to grow, for you to be able to see that as a lesson and an opportunity to learn and to grow past a certain situation. Because often when we meet resistance, especially in a creative craft, or if you're trying to express yourself artistically and you're meeting roadblocks, it's very easy to kind of get down on yourself or play the victim and be like, oh, it's too hard to do this, and it's too many roadblocks for me and that are getting in the way, or X situation. But that the truth is that behind all those situations, there isn't an inherent good or bad quality to them. It's all within how you decide to look at it. So having a growth mindset is like having that fundamental idea that trying something and like seeing if it sticks is worth trying, even if the idea isn't great, even if it's not some crazy magnus opus idea. It's still worth trying, and it's about having that confidence and the headspace to be like, hey, we're just going to give this a shot. It might work, it might not work, and who knows, maybe something will come from it. But just to give yourself that chance and give yourself kind of just the opportunity to exercise your creativity. And another thing about this growth mindset is to totally eliminate the word failure from your vocabulary and replace it with challenge or obstacle or opportunity even, or some sort of lesson to be learned. Because if you're For example, if you're in your DAW and you're trying to learn or you're trying to create a sound and you're not getting quite the sound you wanted, maybe the high end is still like distorted, or you're not getting the spaciousness that you're looking at. Let's say you're trying to get a reverb sound. You could see that as a frustration and it could limit your creativity, or you could see it as an opportunity to now learn how to expand your knowledge of reverbs or expand your knowledge of sound design. And it's all within the same circumstance, but it's basically how you look at it that will affect your reaction to a circumstance. And that's what the growth mindset is all about, is kind of taking back the power of your perceptions, taking back the power of how you choose to react to a roadblock, to a search situation, and allowing yourself to like try to be creative, allowing yourself to make mistakes or to learn from your mistakes. And if you keep that mindset, then it changes the whole dynamic of you making music or trying new ideas out or learning a new skill. And it's all about that growth and that path to getting better slowly, one step at a time. And that brings us to the final point, which is kind of tough, but I really think that it's important to have a plan of action for your creative and artistic endeavors, because it is very easy with creative work. And I know this from experience, I'm talking from experience, to want to accomplish, to want to finish something, and it just continuously gets pushed off because, oh, it's not the right time. Oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, X, this circumstance happens, so I can't finish this artistic project because it's not a priority. Well, that can become a very big problem if that keeps getting pushed back and pushed back, because then you never see any progress, and it doesn't help you stay confident. It doesn't help you kind of continue the snowball of progression towards what you're trying to achieve. So having a plan of, even if it's a small goal, just of like, I want to finish one song in the next 2 months. That's a very easy goal to accomplish. And then you just break it down to steps, and then you accomplish one step per week, right? And it doesn't have to be these crazy big goals, but just a small aim to keep you on track so that you can see progress and you can actually get to finishing a song or actually get to finishing an album. And that's how it happens, is just one step at a time. And on top of that, having kind of a framework for your learning can be very useful as well. So I found that, let's say I want to learn more about sound design or learn more about how to use parallel routing in my mixing, like parallel compression or sidechain compression. If I want to learn a specific skill like that, I want to use it right away in the project that I'm working on. So if I go watch a tutorial on how to do sidechain compression, I don't want to just learn that information and then, I don't know, go watch TV. You want to learn that information and then immediately apply it. And then you can start to do that with certain songs and be like, maybe on this song, I'll try to learn how to do some sound design with this new synth I've gotten, and we'll see where that goes. And having kind of a framework set up for your learning and being able to utilize it in a way that is active into your creativity, into creating music, is very, very useful, because you feel the power of using this new skill right away, and it allows you to embody it, right? Instead of just having all the knowledge in your head, you embody the knowledge, and then it becomes part of how you know how to express yourself in music production. And lastly, on that point, having an accountability partner or a team, a community, or even if you just do it for yourself, like somehow create a deadline, like make it so you have to finish something by a specific date. And I know that it's very hard to do that with your creative craft, because you always want to make it as perfect as possible. We're always reaching for perfection, but at the end of the day, we all always have to call something done. Like every musical project or any artistic project ever there's been a point where the artist was like, this is done. Like, I'm done with this. I'm calling it finished, and we're moving on, because you can always work on art more. There's no line of this is now perfect. You'll always be wanting to make it better. You can always make something better. So it's about kind of forcing yourself to have a deadline and do the best you can within that deadline. And the kind of the power of this headspace is that if you keep on top of these deadlines, you will get in the habit of finishing the things you commit to. And the more and more you finish these things, the more and more you will get better. Because I think it was a study that they took two, I think it was pottery students or a pottery class, and they separated the class into two sections. And on one side, they told the class that for the whole school year they have to create one vase and just do as much, like try to perfect it as much as possible. So they just had to focus on finishing one vase for the whole year, and they tried their hardest to perfect it and like get all of the details and overanalyze it and revise it, but working on one project. Versus the other side was like, you are going to get graded by how many vases you finish. So they didn't have any kind of purpose in perfecting something. They just had a purpose in finishing stuff. And interesting result from the study was that everybody in the class who was just pumping out vases got exponentially better by the time they finished more projects and more projects. And by the time they were done at the school year, the class that literally created the most vases, and that was their approach, were so much more advanced in the process because they tried different things. They got the opportunity to fail, to maybe mispour something more times, and over that process they learned the ins and outs of what it took to make the vase. And this can apply to your music or your music production, is that as you finish more and more things, you start to learn more and more things, and you learn maybe your bag of tricks, the sounds you like the most, the genres of music you like, or maybe something that threw you off, something in your workflow that kind of steered you wrong. And you can only know this by going through the whole process and then coming back full circle and being like, hey, what worked and what didn't work? And you do that over and over. And over time, that's how you actually gain the experience and integrate it in a meaningful way. So that's all I had for my 3 tips for developing confidence. And if you like even find a combination of some of these steps, you can see how it can be very powerful when you shift your mindset and you just make your focus onto realistic small goals, one chunk at a time. So I hope that helped you guys. I hope that inspires you to, if you have extra time in your hands, just like get creative. Even if it's not in your home studio, get on your instrument, start writing something, start getting something going. And again, I'll remind you, if you need help in that process, I made a whole PDF getting you from your first idea all the way to the final master, and in a sequence that's easy to follow. And you can download it for free at www.metamindmusic.com/workflow, or I'll also link it in the description below. And I see there's a couple people here, so I'll stick around. And if anyone has like a question or comment, I'd love to hear from you. And otherwise, I guess we'll call it closed today. And if there's no questions, that's all good. If somebody has a question seeing this afterwards or after the fact, you can always leave a question or comment down below, and I'll come back and answer it at a later point. And until the next stream, we'll talk to you later.